6:30. Tracy, take roll.
Harrington,
Here.
Hoffman,
Here.
Pollock, Smith,
Here.
Wason.
Here.
Consent agenda, I'm sorry, the approval of the agenda, no additions or deletions, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Consent agenda is before you. Anything on there you'd like to talk about beforehand?
One question I have, Mayor, that I keep forgetting to bring up. Ryan, how in depth are the fire inspections able to be completed here over the last 4 months?
Well, they're all those types of inspections are being done virtually, either through phone call and or video. So certainly not as effective as if we're going in to the facility. If there are questions though, or concerns that are brought up, the fire department will take an extra step and go out if needed. But to this point, they haven't been. And of course, once we get back in there, we can, if there are any deficiencies, we'll get back on top of them. But most people have been understanding of that as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? A motion would be in order to pass the consent agenda.
So
moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Kevin?
Okay, thank you. Okay, I've got some updates for you all tonight. I'll start with Forever Green Road. So that project has been substantially completed for quite some time now, but there's been several outstanding issues that just have not been completed, and it's starting to get really frustrating, not only for city staff, but I know the residents out there are getting very anxious also. There's going to be a meeting tomorrow between the DOT and the contractor to hopefully resolve any incomplete items. And I'll be attending that on behalf of the city. So I'll provide a summary to Ryan after that meeting. Southwest Growth Utility Project. The contractor is now on site. There's been a fairly lengthy delay on that project, getting our contractor out and working, and they are out there now working, and they're starting at Jones and they're working their way west. So we're glad that that's started. We did have a meeting with the contractor last week to talk to them about their schedule. They're going to miss their first milestone date, which does not appear to be an issue with the developer. And they told us at the meeting that they would still meet their substantial completion and final completion dates on the project. At least they felt confident in it. So hopefully that is true. St. Andrews Drive, they have made some pretty good progress out there. They've got most of the paving on the west phase of the project now done, and they're starting to complete a lot of the paving work around the roundabout. So the next couple of weeks, they'll continue with the paving, mainly around the roundabout and a lot of the connections. One of them being the west Centennial Park driveway connection. And they'll also be doing some grading work and setting some storm intake boxes. So they have been consistently telling us they're about 3 to 4 weeks behind, and they're still estimating about that. So I think they're about holding that pattern. We're expecting the road to be opening probably late September, somewhere around there. Rancho Way Phase 5. We're continuing design work and property acquisitions, and our next milestone date is a 50% complete set. That'll be submitted to city staff on July 24th, so in 10 days. That project, the final plans are due November 24th in preparation for a February 16th letting, and that'll be through the DOT office in Ames. I think we'll be sharing some of the design components for that project with the city council. I guess I haven't talked to Ryan close enough, but I think we will be sharing some of that with you guys in the near future, probably in the next meeting or two. What else? Oh, lastly, Rancho House renovation phase 2. So this has been a very fast project for us. The plans and specifications have now been completed 100% and submitted to the staff for a final review meeting, which will take place on Thursday. So the schedule for that project is to issue the bidding documents in 2 weeks, July 28th, have the public hearing and a pre-bid meeting earlier in the day on August 11th, open bids August 19th, and award a contract at the second meeting in August. And we have put in a substantial completion date of December 31st of this year with a final completion of May 30th of next year to allow them for any seeding or any landscape weather-related items to finally complete that. And that's all I have tonight, unless you have questions.
Questions for Kevin?
Kevin, can you, what was on the southwest growth area, what's the substantial completion date that you said the contractor still believes they can hit, but they're behind on right now?
Yeah, it's February 20th is substantial, and then final completion is May 31st of 2021.
Thank you.
Anything else for Kevin? Thanks, Kevin. Ryan?
Okay, good evening. Just to piggyback a little bit on what Kevin said about Rancho Way, I asked Shive to do more of a formal presentation to the city council when we're at that 50% design, specifically so you can see some of the features that are being proposed for the project that tie in with the identity project, or the identity group, or excuse me, work that we did with the community. And I hope you'll be pleased. I think you'll be pleased. We're excited to really kick that off with this project. So more to come on that. Since our last meeting, I don't have a lot to update you on from a COVID front. The two items I would note relate to the community center. July 6th, we did open up the library with some pretty significant restrictions. We're allowing 5 people in the library at a time with masks, health checks at the door, and really encouraging people to still take advantage of the curbside service, and encouraging families that want, if they do need to come in, that they just really send in one person from that family to collect what they need and then get out quickly. So on the rec side, similarly, we opened up the exercise area and have limitations on that. And all this is by appointment only, by the way. And that has been going pretty well. Again, asking folks to wear masks and sanitize. We got an email this week from a patron, someone who works out upstairs, very complimentary of how sanitized the area was, and just how well organized they were when they were checking in. So I think we're doing okay from that front, but again, being very cautious as we kind of creep the doors open a little bit at this point. Other than that, things remain unchanged from when I last provided an update. On the police station, happy to announce we had a temporary occupancy permit late last week. So Chief Venega and her team have started moving over and talking with her this afternoon. They hope to be fully operational in there by the end of the month. They're still working, as you might imagine, on some punch list issues, some technology issues that they're trying to work out, but she's hopeful that by the end of the month, they'll be fully operational in that facility. Thought I'd let you know we closed on our bonds last week, so that over $10 million came into the city accounts for the projects that we've completed. You will also note on tonight's list of claims that there's a check there for the DOT for the settlement amount regarding the agreement we approved with them earlier for Highway 965 Phase 2. Wanted to mention, and I mentioned this to some of you already, just for those of you who like statistics, regarding firework complaints. Last year, 19 from July 1st through the 6th, we had 53 firework complaints. This year, that number increased by 57% to 84 complaints in that same time frame. So seeing more complaints. My own opinion is there's a couple reasons for that. One, probably being folks cooped up due to COVID and wanting to release a little bit, but also we had a stand right here in North Liberty that I think contributed to some of that as well. And that is what I have tonight, Mayor, for an update, unless there are any questions from the group.
Any questions?
I do have one question, Ryan, and maybe you all have discussed this, but in the event that school does not go back as planned, has there been discussion about a contingency plan as far as like the camp goes, or what the process will be for opening up facilities and so forth?
We've talked about that. We've, have fretted about that and we don't have a plan in place, but we'll be working on something. And I thought, I haven't heard anything today, but I thought this week they were supposed to announce some plans. I don't know if anybody's heard anything yet, but we'll be keeping an eye out for that and then going from there.
Okay, Rakisha? Okay,
That's fine.
anything else for Ryan? Thanks, Ryan. Have board appointments that would like to have council enact on this evening. With the second round of applications, turned out very well, I thought. Out of the number of applications, there was only one that we could not use because that was a park board application and that one's full. But I would like to recommend to council, Board of Adjustment, Eric Rudham and Dave Weiler. Tree, Adoraming, Bila, Communications, Angel Marsh, Appeals, Jan Michael, Chase Hunsinger, and Kyle Vanderplug. So we had no applicants for the cemetery, but we can fill most of our vacancies with this list. I really appreciate citizens coming through. So if you would, I would like to have a motion from council to approve those.
I'll second.
Moved
Thank you.
and seconded. Any discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Social service application. We had one that just got crossed wires some way, so we released one to give the agency a chance to tell us what they are, what they would like to do, like to see. And so if you would, turn it over to Amy Gosnell, correct?
That's correct. Thank you very much for having me. And thank you, Tracy, for setting all of this up. It was brought to Tracy's attention that we had submitted an application in March, and I forwarded the email that indicated that the application was submitted. And so Tracy was very kind in looking into this and giving us the opportunity to see if there's something that could be done yet. The application is from Families Inc. Families Inc. was the first agency in the state of Iowa to provide in-home family-centered services, second in the nation. So many agencies that provide in-home family-centered services after us were modeled after our programs. We currently provide a nurturing parent program, which is an evidence-based curriculum that we're currently using in Johnson County and Delaware County. However, we provided an application to Buchanan, Delaware, and Fayette counties to expand into additional counties, and then also an application to Benton County to expand there. The Benton County application won't receive a response until August due to them not knowing exactly what the funding is going to look like. Johnson County DCAT is providing some additional funding so that we can continue to do that this year. However, the targeted areas haven't been North Liberty. So we wanted to give North Liberty the opportunity for us to expand more into North Liberty. We are understanding that the amount of money available would be small. So our application originally was for $5,000 just for North Liberty, with an application adjustment of $1,400. That would allow us, and we talked about it today, how could we best use that? And that could serve 2 families with this 10 lesson curriculum. However, we would have to double up a couple of the lessons, but we saw it as being feasible. So we would be able to serve an additional 2 families. If you have any questions about what that curriculum looks like and what it covers, I certainly could tell you a little bit more.
Questions for Amy?
Yeah, just Amy, with what we're going through with the pandemic right now, I see on your website and also in your application that the delivery of services would happen in the family's homes. How will you guys be affected and how will that change? Or you're going through it right now, I assume?
Yes, we have been providing service to families through all of our programming. The insurance company has allowed us to provide services via telehealth. So
Okay.
we have been offering telehealth to families since March. There are still some families that have requested preference for in person, and we have been making accommodations, but while respecting social distancing. But it's been rare. Most have wanted to do the telehealth. We have a family identified in North Liberty, young family identified in North Liberty, and the conversations that have taken place there is they are very open to telehealth situation. And with the curriculum, that can be done very easily via telehealth.
The 10-week curriculum, is that it for this family, or do you have relationships with your clients, patients, how you want to call them, beyond these 10 weeks?
So we have other programming that may or may not be available to those families. We also are aware of other resources within the county that families could take advantage of. Once we get into a home and start providing a service throughout 10 lessons, which could be done in 10 weeks or it could be done in less time, usually they will let us know if there's some other needs that they have, and then we'll address those needs as they come up.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You bet.
I would like to just say, thank you all for, finding this and bringing it to our attention. This is one of the social services that unfortunately a lot of North Liberty residents don't get to take advantage of. And as someone who was a parent support worker and did in-home visits, I know how vital those are and very important. So whether it's 2 families or 10 families down the line, I'm glad that you all are doing this work and will be able to service potentially more families in North Liberty as well. I'm also hopeful that, the county will see fit that these services are very vital in North Liberty, considering we don't have, transportation here to get people to certain places. So to have a service provider that does in-home is very important. So thank you for the service that you all do and being able to work with families and connect them to other resources as well.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Any other questions? Amy, did you have anybody else with you that needed to speak as well?
I do not. I'm actually coming to you from the comfort of my home, and no one came home from the office with me. So there isn't anyone. If you would like to speak with the gal that handles all of the budgeting, she said she's very open to providing, her contact information as well.
Okay, anything else? What I would ask for the council is, can't really establish a resolution, but a motion to establish a resolution in the amount of $1,400 to dedicate to this program.
So, Mayor,
Yes, Brian.
so we had $1,400 left in the social service budget. We had a little bit of money left that we didn't allocate from the surplus from last year still. We have still some of that left over.
Yes.
So, I maybe if we could go to like use some of that and then get it to $2,500 and at least get them like halfway to where they were at. I would like to do that, and that hopefully that would help them a little bit more. We can get a few more people and see how we can do.
I'd be in line with that as well, Brian.
Great idea.
Keisha, you saying yes?
Yep.
Okay, then the motion to direct a resolution to be established in the amount of $2,500 to help this program along. So maybe you can squeeze 3 people in now for your program. So
Absolutely. This sounds incredible. I'm loving it. Yes, we can do 3 with 2,500.
thank you very much. Anyone wish to establish that motion?
Thank you.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you all very much.
Next item on our agenda is the Kaler Settlement Agreement. This is a resolution number 2020-57, a resolution authorizing settlement agreement with Michael J. Kaler and Tamara S. Kaler. I think Grant sent you information on this before. Did you have any further questions on this?
Mayor, I'd like Ryan just briefly explain if he can, because I know when citizens hear settlement, their ears perk up. So let's just address what it is if we can.
Certainly.
Sure, I can. Yeah, thank you. This dates back to 2013. We needed an easement from the Kalers. They obliged, but as part of that easement agreement, we agreed to put in a service line when they, a water service line, excuse me, when they, and at that point they were not in the city limits. They were putting it in so that eventually when they annexed and hooked up to city water, it would be there. Well, that happened recently. They annexed and were ready to hook up to city water. And unfortunately, we couldn't find the service line. And our folks, our team looked, the contractor looked, we had a pretty wide open area cut open to look for this thing, and we couldn't find it. There was clearly some additional costs as a result of that. And so we agreed to split those costs with the Kalers pending council approval. The total cost was about $4,400. We're asking the council to consider a $2,200 reimbursement to the Kalers for this.
Okay, Brent. Okay. Any other questions? Anyone wish to establish that resolution, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Final discussion or questions? Tracy, please.
Harrington,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Vote is 4 affirmative, none opposed, 1 absent. Resolution passes. Item 10, Harvest Estates 2, Part 6, Resolution number 2020-58. A resolution approving the developer's agreement for Harvest Estates 2, Part 6. Any questions on this one? Anyone wish to establish the resolution?
So moved.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments? Tracy,
Smith,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Wason. Got it.
Brian votes yes, thumbs up. Count is 4 affirmative, none opposed, 1 absent. Vintage Estates, Second consideration of ordinance number 2020-02, an ordinance amending chapter 167 of the North Liberty Code of Ordinances by amending the use regulations on property located at 175 South Jones Boulevard, located in North Liberty, Iowa, to those set forth in the municipal code for the RS4 PAD single unit resident planned area development. I think we need to give accommodation to Russ, who worked really hard on this thing, got the final sign off for this thing to go ahead. So I would ask anyone to establish the second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Final question. Tracy,
Smith,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
vote is 4 affirmative, none opposed, 1 absent. Second consideration being passed. Water rate update. Third and final adoption consideration of ordinance 2020-04, an ordinance amending chapter 92.02 entitled Rates for Service of the Municipal Code of North Liberty by adopting a new section 92.02 to increase the charges for water used. Anyone wish to establish that third and final?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Final questions? Tracy, take a roll, please.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Wason,
Thumbs up, aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Third and final passes 4 affirmative, none opposed, 1 absent. Number 13, chapter 180, ordinance regarding minimum low opening on plat requirement. Amending the minimum low ordinance requirements for the North Liberty Code of Ordinances. Questions on this one yet? Anyone wish to establish that second consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments, questions? Tracy, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Second reading passes 4 affirmative, none opposed, 1 absent. Number 14, chapter 146.05, ordinance regarding rental permit guest. This is the second consideration of ordinance number 2020-06, an ordinance amending the rental permit requirements of the North Liberty Code of Ordinances. Any questions or anything you want to engage first? Anyone wish to establish this second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Final comments? Tracy, take roll.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Second consideration is passed 4 affirmative, none opposed, 1 absent. Item 15, chapter 90.23, ordinance regarding backflow customer responsibility. This is the second consideration of ordinance number 2020-07, an ordinance clarifying customer and contractor responsibilities for backflow prevention device inspection and reporting. Comments or questions ahead of time? Anyone wish to establish that ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Final questions, comments? Tracy, take roll.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Second consideration passes for affirmative, none opposed, one absent. Next is chapter 50.07 regarding nuisance ordinance scrivener's error. This is a second consideration of ordinance 2020-08, an ordinance correcting a scrivener's error in chapter 50 of the North Liberty Code of Ordinances. Any questions on this one? Anyone wish to establish that second reading?
So moved.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Final questions, comments? Tracy, take roll.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Second reading passes for affirmative, none opposed, one absent. Item 17, second consideration of ordinance number 2020-09, an ordinance amending chapter 41 of the North Liberty Code of Ordinances. This is regarding the toy guns. Any comments or questions? Anyone wish to establish the second consideration?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Final comments or questions? Tracy, take roll.
Harrington,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Second consideration passes for affirmative, none opposed, one absent. Next one is chapter 40.03, which is regarding to disorderly conduct. This will be the second consideration of ordinance number 2020-10, an ordinance amending chapter 40.03 of the North Liberty Code of Ordinances. Any questions on this one? Anyone wish to establish that second reading?
So moved.
So move. Second.
Moved and seconded. Final questions, comments? Tracy, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Second consideration passes for affirmative, none opposed, one absent. Next item is old business, but I'm going to ask Ryan, would you please comment on what's been going on as far as the racial issues?
Sure. So obviously we haven't had a conversation with the city council yet, and we're hoping to have one soon. From the staff's perspective, there's been a lot of behind the scene efforts in collecting data, gathering information, and ultimately working on a presentation to the city council. I'd like to say just in general, what I've seen in the organization, just in my little world that I operate in, is that there's been much more awareness and discussion about social issues, social justice, racial equity, whether that be in a meeting before or after a meeting, or just in passing between employees. And, I think getting people just to talk about these issues is a big deal. And so we've, in my opinion, or in my mind, we've moved that needle just a little bit. And I think it's going to be up to myself and our management team to really push that needle forward from here on out. But from some other action items that we've done, or things that we're looking at from a PD perspective, the chief has been meeting with the obviously local law enforcement agencies, but also the NAACP and some other community partners to discuss a path moving forward. And we'll have some more information on that later this month. She's also had conversations, and you probably saw this in the media, with the law enforcement agencies about the memorandum of understanding to intercede, allowing or making sure officers from any agency can intercede another officer, no matter the rank, if they see something going wrong. The chief has reviewed the policy simply in terms of making sure they meet the expectations of the 8 Can't Wait and the 30 guiding principles for police executive research forum. This was something that was brought up by a resident, and so we looked further into it. And because we use a professional policy firm called Lexipol, our policies are up to those standards. Now, and those policies have now been posted online. That was a request from the community. We also disseminated a great deal of data on our website, and some of that data generated questions and concerns. And I know you all have received emails about those. So we're currently breaking that data down a little bit more to better analyze it and to better analyze the numbers to really, I guess, see what that, have a better idea of what that data really means. And so, you know, that's what we're working on now, and that's what we'll present to you as well. We heard concerns from residents, and I want to make sure I make this kind of a point here. We've heard concern from residents that they heard we stopped collecting data or are not sharing data, and that's absolutely not true. We're collecting the data that we've always collected. We'll share whatever we legally can. The one thing that the chief is looking into now and actually working with our vendor, for lack of a better term, I'll call it our tracking vendor, the vendor that helps us with our calls and arrest data, to see if we can even collect more data through and basically adding more service through that, through our I think they call it TAC 10, the company that helps us with manage all that data. So she's working with them so that we can enhance what we're collecting. And then I would just say that we have now for the last few years posted data on our website about calls for service, about arrests, and we even have an interactive map that shows kind of where crimes have or calls or crimes have taken place. So there's a fair amount of information out there. I'm not suggesting that that's all that'll be out there, but for now we do have a fair amount out there in hopes that it's transparent. Certainly, the chief is working on some other things as well there. And then on that same issue, I know I'm talking a lot about data, and I don't think this issue ends or begins with data, but that has been a hot topic here. So I just wanted to spend a little bit of time on it. But once we break that data down, and we're gonna create a template so that every year we can, all of our statistics, we'll have a similar template every year so that it's transparent, it's open, and it's easily accessible to the public. Again, you know, these issues that we're seeing across the country and across our communities does not all you know, fall at the feet of the police department. We think there are other opportunities out there. Some of the other things going on, Diane, actually the chief moved up their implicit bias training for the PD. That was going to be a couple months from now, but decided to move that up. In addition, our special projects coordinator, Angela, coordinates most of our city trainings for safety and other topics. She's working with other local jurisdictions right now to offer more frequent and relevant bias and equity training. Let's see here, pardon me and then, as I mentioned earlier, our team will be prepared to present not only the data, but also what we see as potential. Well, let me take a step back. We'd be ready to present the things that we are currently doing and the ideas that we see would be helpful moving forward. And at that same time, we'd be looking for the city council to offer some direction and guidance on what you folks see as a priority. So I think we'll be ready for that later this month, and we can go from there. And then the last point I want to make, just in general, is that, you know, I really don't see this topic, and I'm guessing most of you are going to agree with this, or all of you will probably agree with this, as a blip on the radar, or as if it's a capital project where we complete a task, we're done with it, and we move on. Our team sees, you know, the social justice issue as a topic of ongoing discussion and action at various levels, and so you know, this isn't something we're going to put on a shelf. We're from my talks with our management team, we're committed to, as I said earlier, moving this needle forward.
I'd also like to make the comment, if people go to their packets that are online, they'll see through Diane's report what she's already been doing as far as training activities are concerned. And if I remember correctly, the library has been proceeding with different activities and related measures too. So I think that's very important. Now, the particular thing is that, yes, I chose to go to Zoom this evening because of the way the COVID thing has been going. My take is, if we talk about this to any extended time, I wanted the council around the table, and I wanted the people who wanted to be involved in the audience so we can talk to each other face to face. I think that tells me more than any email would ever do. So irregardless, we will be meeting in council chambers the 28th. We'll be discussing the finances, plus any other items that you may come up with that have suggestions from the public, and we take it from there. We will dedicate a amount of time to go ahead and start doing this and opening the doors any way we can. The thing is, I think a lot of people get focused on the financial issue of it. That is not the primary issue. The primary issue goes down to what I feel is basic trust. Trust in the police, trust in ourselves, trust in the Black community and any ethnic group. The defunding of the police, I am not supporting of at all. We need our police what we have. If there is room where we can make some things in social services happen, that's fine, but we need to clearly delineate those, the results expected, and take it from there. We are not putting this off. The initial decision on this meeting was mine and mine alone. So from that point on, we'll provide shields, masks, whatever you need coming up this next council meeting, but we will have it there and we'll be discussing that. Okay? Anything else?
Mayor, will you also, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
Keisha.
No, go ahead.
Mayor, will you
Lisa?
also be providing a Zoom link? Because I will not be coming to council chambers if I can be there electronically. And I know that there will be a number of people that would prefer not to be there in meeting as well in person. So you'll be able to provide those via Zoom link as well, I assume.
If I could jump in here, Mayor.
Yes.
I'm not sure it'll be Zoom, but there'll be some sort of opportunity to participate. Nick is a little concerned about using Zoom and the technology in the council chambers, but we will certainly have an opportunity, whether it be by phone or some other method, to participate. More to come on that.
All right, thank you.
You're on mute.
Okay, now here I am. Just wanted to say that I really have appreciated the conversations that's been had behind the scenes, and I think oftentimes our community worries that there's no action behind it because there's not a lot of transparency and discussion during our council meetings. So that is very important to have that additional part, whether it's a work session or whatever, so that we can get the input from our constituents and also hear those stories, because every day there's more and more stories of interactions, and not just with law enforcement, but with neighbors that people didn't have for years, and things are happening, and trying to understand, how to address those. What's the proper way to say it? Do you call law enforcement because something is happening? And I think when we're at the forefront of having those are uncomfortable conversations, but they're necessary conversations, and they're brave conversations, because we want to be a community that invites everyone and they feel safe, whether they're interacting with law enforcement or their neighbor. They want to feel safe, and oftentimes that's not the story or what's perceived. And I've personally had several conversations with people who were totally like, their perspectives were very different from mine, but we came to a understanding just by having those conversations, and they're very necessary. And it's not a one size fits all, or one conversation is going to fix it, because this is an ongoing issue that's engraved in many of our systems that we continue to work in. So we do have to dig deep and have to unveil a lot of things, and it may not be comfortable, but I do want to say that I think our staff have been doing a lot of internal research and internal analyzing, even just where they are, and asking a lot of questions, and just sharing resources and being present and in the moment. And not just the staff, but our community is really yearning to be able to have a different approach and be at the forefront of this and not sitting in the rear. So I'm definitely looking forward to these conversations that's open and not necessarily behind closed doors, but to make sure that we are not just providing lip service, but that is very visible that things are happening. So I do applaud the efforts that the chief is doing in trying to, unveil a lot of these things, and all the work that you all are doing as well. But I know that there will be a lot more action to take place behind that. So
The base issue too, and other people and I were talking today, was, are we okay with ourselves and what we're doing with these particular issues? If we can't get over some of the things ourselves, how are we going to guide anybody else to do it? And that the thing is, if we have our house in order, we have our head and our heart in the right place, then we can really seriously talk about things. But we got to get ourselves straight first, and then we can move ahead with what's necessary. And some things will dictate themselves to be necessary as these talks go on. So that's where I'm at on the thing. Other comments?
Mayor, I do have a couple. I reached out. I want to thank Kelly Sittig. I asked for her permission to use her name this evening after a conversation. I want to tell her publicly thank you for her leadership, and the list of folks that she supplied to council in the letters. I knew a number of those people, so I reached out to those that I did know. Certainly don't want to call them out, but I do want to say thank you to Jane, Tom, Danny, Katie for your replies and the conversations. I also want to thank Councilor Hoffman and Councilor Harrington. Kelly did mention that you reached out to her and discussed this matter with her. So thank you. I think the majority of council has reached out and supplied some feedback and some effort there. So thank you to the team for doing that. I guess one of the main things that Kelly and I talked about was just that equity piece. And Ryan, I appreciate those pieces that you talked about, and you talked about moving up the implicit bias training. I want to make sure that those things that we're doing, we're not just doing to check a box, that they're meaningful, that they are important, that they drive change, that they move the needle. And I know that you believe in that also, Ryan. I don't say that because I think that you don't, because I know that you do, and your team does as well. So Kelly, again, thanks for the conversation on the equity piece. You know, she mentioned something that I'll end with that I believe is important. You know, each one of our communities, whether it's Coralville, Iowa City, North Liberty, we all have different needs in each one of our communities around this issue. And the only way that we're going to be able to identify what those specific needs are for North Liberty is to sit down and listen. We had the ability, thanks to the leadership of Councilor Harrington, to be able to do that with the event that she held here a few weeks ago. I would like to see us do a couple more listening forums, whether that's via Zoom, whether that's in council chambers, to invite folks to come in and share their stories and their frustrations. And we need to be ready as a council and a city to hear some of the negative things. And we need to be prepared to leave those meetings with action items to address those issues. And I'm ready to do that. I want to thank Councilor Harrington again. I reached out and visited with her about a week ago. Made myself available to those folks that spoke at the rally here in North Liberty. And those conversations that she's speaking of that we don't publicly talk about on the meetings all the time are happening. And it's important that our citizens know that they're happening, and they'll continue to happen with the efforts that we're seeing from citizens on these emails moving forward. So I appreciate the effort. Thank you.
Anything else from anybody?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I got a couple emails from people who are worrying about mandating masks and things. My response to that was, we shouldn't have to mandate to do the right thing. So I would really encourage people, if you're out and about, wear a mask when you're out. So it does protect you a little bit, but it really, more importantly, protects other people. And if everybody has a mask on, it actually decreases, the risk of transmission in the outside area and stuff. So some people can't do it, and that's okay. I'd recommend trying to go get some face shields. You can wear those and you just keep things out of your face. And there's people kind of posting that, that it causes low oxygen, high carbon dioxide levels and stuff. And we're here, I've been here 12 hours or 11 hours, and I had all sorts of stuff on, and my oxygen and carbon dioxide levels are just fine. So that may not be people who have a medical thing that's going on, but overall, most people tolerate things pretty good. And I would really recommend people doing that because we need to keep things ramped down. The number of admissions in the Iowa are going up again, and we do not want to get where we were in March.
Yeah, the things that I've received has been on both sides of the issue. Well, why don't we mandate it, but yet, take away people's freedom as far as choosing to wear it or not wear it. Well, a person may choose not to wear it, mask or shield, but they also need to take the responsibility of what happens around them and how they could affect other people, including themselves and their family. I think the mandate issue is probably out the window for good unless the governor changes her mind fairly soon. Only time will tell on that one. So some businesses do not really want to mandate at the door that they come in, and I can understand that. But at the same time, they do have the right to limit, who comes in dressed in what. And so, yeah, they may lose some customers, but at the same time, may gain additional respect from other customers too. So yeah, wear the mask and shield, protect yourself as well as other people. That is first and foremost in that issue. Anything else? Old, new?
Mayor, I do have a couple of new, if you don't mind. I've had a number of questions about fireworks. Obviously, this is the first year we had a sales stand in North Liberty. A lot of folks don't understand. They see us as being two-sided. We are mandated by the state. This is a state law, folks. The state allows fireworks to be sold on certain commercial properties. The city can and does have an ordinance that you cannot shoot off fireworks in city limits. We cannot limit the sales. That is a state issue. So I just thought I would speak to that. Those folks that have had that question, our hands are tied as far as the sales. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's how it is.
Yeah, that's the troubling issue. But the thing is, I think if somebody fires off fireworks and injures herself, that's punishment enough at times. So.
And then lastly, new business, again, I've posted quite a bit on the storm damage. I know personally, we had damage. I know a lot of our neighbors and citizens here in town took damage. Please be aware of scams. There are a lot of scams out there. Please use local, licensed, and insured companies. If you're unsure, don't hesitate to reach out. The city resources are here to assist you. Look up the City of North Liberty Facebook page. Communications department has done a good job this week posting some Iowa home builder resources that folks can turn to. So please just be careful and use our friends and neighbors to help make those repairs that you need.
And I'll just pick up with one last thing, Mayor, if that's all right. To finish up with what Brent was talking about, contacting your insurance agent as well is a great start. And see if it's necessary. Just because some chuck in a truck stops by and says that your roof needs to be repaired, your insurance company still needs to pay for it. On a much more business-minded note here, this is only old news to Terry, but at our MPO meeting last week, we had officially allocated money for Ranshaw Way. That will be part of paying for that next year. It's a $6.7 million project, of which $2.5 million will be coming through federal and state aid in that process. So that'll be, that's always nice. We've had that type of funding all along the way in there. And also the trail that will go out Penn Street, going to the east, wrapping around, going down to the high school. That will be part of FY 2024's funding coming through the MPO. And I believe that'll take care of about half of that project cost as well.
About 600,000.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So good chunk of change.
Yep.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anything else from anybody?
I did have one more, I'm sorry. With our Iowa City Area Better Together group, there will be a pop-up access site. I'll have more information out and we'll get it through our channels through Nick. There will be, the idea behind the pop-up site is access to the internet for those in the community that don't have ready access to the internet. Folks from the United Way will be part of that. They will staff. It will be socially distant. It will be mask required. It will be 10 people or less at a time, but we'll be doing it at one of the local junior high schools here in North Liberty. And folks will be able to come in, have access, have help to do things like the census form, walking people through the census form, walking folks through signing up for school, getting resources for their children for the school year, getting forms filled out, and other things that they may not have access to with limited internet resources. So as we get that, Ryan and I get that information here coming up this week, it is slated for the end of July, I believe 27, 28, 29, tentatively between Iowa City, Coralville, and North Liberty. So we're excited to be able to host that. And once we get those out, we'll certainly get that to our folks. Thank you.
Last call. Thank you for your time and attendance this evening. We are adjourned.